this claim that radicalization is a Muslim problem. Some people say that radicalization is done by Muslims and exclusively by Muslims. But history doesn't necessarily paint that picture. So I'm going to ask Mr. Bashar Zafar if he could do a short recitation from the Holy Koran, followed by its translation in English.
وَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرَدُّوهُ. The translation is, O ye who believe, obey Allah and obey His Messenger. And if you differ in anything among yourself, refer it to Allah and His Messenger.
This event is organized by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and its youth association, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association. It's the title is Stop the Crisis. It's a nationwide initiative that we've embarked on. There are these nefarious groups like ISIS, and they're the focus of this event because of how much strength they've gained across the world. But they're not. We know that they're not the only ones. This is not a Muslim problem that requires a Muslim solution. This is a human problem that requires a human solution. And so there are responsibilities upon Muslims to handle groups like ISIS and the crimes that they're instilling around the world, but there's also responsibilities on the shoulders of those who are not Muslim. It's important for us to understand what from an environmental standpoint has caused groups like ISIS to erupt. When we turn on the television or read the newspapers, there's full of images of some pretty grotesque acts that they've committed, whether it's burning people or beheading people or maiming entire villages in order to take over their land. But then we have to understand, they're claiming to act in the name of Islam, they're claiming to spread the ideology of Islam, but what about the verses of the Quran that repeatedly call Muslims and forbids Muslims from ever creating chaos and disorder in the world? And there is this claim that radicalization is a Muslim problem. Some people say that radicalization is done by Muslims and exclusively by Muslims. But history doesn't necessarily paint that picture. Show a very quick video about this question of radicalization, so that we can at least start to uncover whether or not it's fair to talk about it in the context of only Islam.
An enraged gunman walked the halls of Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church before taking a 12-gauge shotgun out of his guitar case and opening fire on an audience of 200 people watching a children's play. 58-year-old Jim Atkinson said he was motivated by a hatred of liberals, Democrats, and homosexuals. Terror and panic gripped the nation when Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols carried out a carefully crafted bombing of the Alfred P. Murray Federal Office Building in Oklahoma City. 35-year-old George Jojo Hennard drove his pickup truck through the cafe's front window. Exiting the truck, Hennard then opened fire, unleashing a rampage that killed 23 people and injured 20 more. This former military man, we've seen extremism many times in our history, which carries forward till today in what feels like an unending stream of shootings at schools and public facilities. Religion has nothing to do with it. Every time, it has been due to the actions of misguided individuals who are just frustrated with the world as they understood it.
What we would say is we should know that this is not about Islam, that it's not the religion that's motivating them. What we see is we don't see mosque-going, scripture-reading people suddenly turning towards radicalization. The biggest mistake that some religious organizations can make, or other groups can make, is to turn them away and say that your words are a little too extreme. We don't think maybe you belong here with us. So knowing that it's not Islam, so then we talk about how do we look at the problem.